to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, CEO and founder of She Leads Media, a global media company dedicated to the advancement of women leaders and entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm also an adjunct professor at NYU and Rice University, where I teach on the topic of entrepreneurship. I'm a mom to two wonderful young men and married to my best friend from college. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women entrepreneurs and leaders. My hope is that these conversations and their advice will encourage you to put yourself out there and gain the visibility that you and all women deserve. We're all about stripping away the sugar-coated conversations and moving boldly in the direction of our magnificent dreams. For far too long, women have been conditioned to soften their words, modify their actions, and show up in the world to conform to outdated at best and harmful at worst cultural norms and ideals. Why? To keep those who are outside of the power structures from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence. This has prevented women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. The She Leads podcast is here to shine the light on all the incredible women, to encourage us to show up, speak up, and showcase the amazing work we do. Speak with confidence about the innovative and transformational thoughts that we have, and celebrate the positive impact that we are making in this world, both personally and professionally. So let's do this. Let's lead. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by the She Leads Live 2024 conference. It's the conference for women and entrepreneurs and leaders, and it's taking place on October 18th and 19th in New York City. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, why not? Go out and get your tickets today. We cannot wait to see you there. And my guest today is very special because she is actually a speaker at the She Leads Live conference. We're excited to welcome Pam Jordan today to the She Leads podcast. She's the CEO of Pivot Business Group, and she's a no-nonsense financial expert and speaker who specializes in analyzing and streamlining the back end of fast-growing companies, as well as efficiently creating more profit and strategic growth. So we can all use Pam in our lives. Let's dive in. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Pam.
Thank you. I am thrilled to be here.
I am so excited to hear from you, and I really meant it. You know, we all need what you do in our lives as busy women entrepreneurs who sometimes are afraid of looking at our numbers. So we're going to dive into all of that. But before we even get there, let's learn a little bit more about you. I'd love to understand, you're a business owner yourself, so you can understand what it's like to build a business on your own, but you also help business owners. So can you talk to us about how Pivot Business Group started? What got you there?
Absolutely. I'd love to share my story. So Pivot Business Group was created over 8 years ago. We just celebrated 8 years. We started out as a fractional CFO firm, mostly because I was working for a general contractor in the construction industry, and he stopped paying attention to his numbers and he had to file bankruptcy. And it was a very painful season for all involved. Mm-hmm. I was in the courtroom dealing with the bankers and the lawyers, and it was just a dark times in my life. And what I realized is there's a lot of businesses out there that just don't understand their numbers, that don't understand cash flow, that aren't charging enough for their services. And they really just need help. But most businesses that are less than $20 million in top line revenue can't afford the expertise that comes from a chief financial officer or a CFO.
Yeah.
So I started Pivot Business Group to be a fractional CFO firm so that we could help our entrepreneurs and business owners know their numbers, increase their profit, reduce their taxes, and grow their wealth. And so we do that by fractional CFO services, bookkeeping services, tax strategy, and tax filing services. So we've come a long way. We now have a team of 18 people. We can provide services to clients all over the U.S., bookkeeping, CFO, and taxes. And we help clients do just that, understand their numbers and succeed into whatever success looks like for them.
I love it. And this is such an important function and one that I don't think gets enough attention. And it's, you serve women and men, entrepreneurs, business owners, but here at She Leads, we're super focused on women. And just a little story, I went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program back in 2017 and 2018. One of the modules is all about, finance and numbers, of course. And during that particular session, there were tears. So I was in a cohort with 35 different women. And some of the stories that we heard about some of these business owners and what they did to get capital and pay for it people took advantage of these women business owners with payday loans and things like that. So in addition to, maybe not having access to capital, maybe not understanding your numbers, there is so much shame that is associated with almost being ignorant, but also being desperate and, taking on these types of loans that you don't really know how fast that they can get you into trouble. So, I think that when we start businesses, we're so concerned about bringing on clients and, charging them and everything. How can someone who may have started the business and may have just thought about themselves and what type of revenue they want to earn, how can they adjust their numbers and their revenue, the prices that they charge when they're already out there in the market? Because I think that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And I think as female entrepreneurs, we typically underprice ourselves. We devalue ourselves in the marketplace. So the first thing is stop apologizing for charging people money for your service or product. And the second thing is whatever number you're putting out there, I guarantee you is too low and people will pay more. As women, I see this across the board. Women entrepreneurs do not charge enough for their services. They devalue themselves. If you compare them to a male-owned business, they're charging less. And so the first thing is to understand what your worth is. It's okay to charge money. For some reason, as women, I don't know if it's a nurturing thing, I don't know the psychology of it, but we do not value ourselves to the same level that men in the marketplace do. And that's just not fair.
Yeah.
We bring just as much value, if not more, to the marketplace, and we need to be charging accordingly. So whatever number you're starting with, stop apologizing and know it's not enough.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage you to do is just do a price increase and don't apologize for it. You are worth so much more.
Oh, that's such good advice. I think sometimes women do tend to be super logical and practical. And so they almost add up what they can be sort of baking into their price. But I think that what they don't add in is the help that they need, the taxes that they need to put aside. So they think to themselves, $125 an hour or whatever it is, $125 an hour, $3,000 for this project, whatever. They're not going through and adding up all of the costs that go into that number. And so I think what could be helpful is, yes, 100% we need to, first of all, increase our prices and know our value. But secondly, what are some of those items that we can literally write down on a piece of paper and say, okay, I have to make sure that what I'm charging includes X, Y, Z?
Yeah, absolutely. So cost accounting is the term for this in the accounting world that we talk about. So the first thing is you need to understand what it costs you to actually fulfill on whatever your product or service is. And that's not just your time, Queen. That is also the softwares that you're paying. This is the room in your house that you're sitting in or the office that you're renting that go towards the operating costs. Hopefully you have a VA or an assistant that is supporting you. Any equipment that you have, any contractors that you outsource to, your marketing expense, all of those, your accounting software, your bookkeeper that you have, all of those business expenses need to go into whatever your costs are.
Yeah.
And then I also encourage business owners to look at the value, to focus on value pricing and the value that you bring to your audience. So step one is to understand, what does it cost for me to fulfill on this? So say, for example, you're a business coach and you have a program and you say, okay, well, for me to fulfill on it, it costs $100 a month with software and overhead and all those kind of things and my time. Well, first I'm going to say that's too low because you're worth more than $100 an hour. So stop, right? So let's say realistically, it's more like $300. So your program costs you $300 for your time, your administrative support time, your software, your rent, your bookkeeper, your advertising, any equipment that you have, travel, any of that. Say it's $300 per client to fulfill. Well, then you need to look at, what is the value that you're bringing to the client? What value are you bringing to the table? What effect are you having on them? Well, if your coaching is going, say you're a sales coach, if your sales coaching is going to help them bring in 2 new clients a month at $10,000, you are bringing $20,000 of value to your client.
Yeah.
Charging $500 and apologizing for it is embarrassing for you. Stop.
Yeah.
So understand the value that you're bringing to the client and charge for that. So as a CFO, I know the value that I bring. I'm $1,000 an hour.
Wow.
Minimum.
Yeah.
That's a starting point, because I can turn a deal that someone is coming to the table and will say, I'm changing the numbers a little bit just for
Sure.
NDA
Privacy
reasons, but
yeah.
Right. But I had a client that came to us that had an offer on the table to buy his company for $15 million. After our team did our work, we did our forecast, we did all the money voodoo that we do. He's now selling for $22 million. I added $7 million of value to him.
Wow.
As you can imagine, I charge him thousands of dollars a month.
Yes.
Thousands of dollars. And he will continue to pay thousands of dollars to us because of the value that we bring. And on a smaller scale, I've got a client, she's in the med spa space. I have a lot of clients in the med spa, IV drips, integrative health medicine kind of space. She's used to be a nurse practitioner, and now she's going out and starting this adventure, and she's undercharging significantly. And so we went and calculated how much does it actually cost for her in her concierge medicine to run a drip for someone or to have a drip party. Well, it was significantly more than she realized. And she was also charging significantly less than what the market was.
Wow.
And so we went in, and through our process, she needed to do a 55% price increase. And she swallowed hard on that.
Yeah.
But in black and white, it was really clear, look, this is how much money you're leaving on the table. And you just told me that you can't pay off your credit card.
Yeah.
This is why.
I love that example so much. I mean, first of all, congratulations on getting so much more value for your client. That's an incredible success story. And yes, that we do need to be able to point to those things and also promote that and claim that so that others can hear about how successful we are and what great results we get from people. And I love this idea of being able to look at your numbers and saying, okay, let me roll in all of these other costs that I was probably in my mind setting aside as just the cost of doing business, so that we can see in black and white what those numbers are. And it's almost like, triangulating between what is the market charging, right? And do you feel like you should be there or more, which is amazing. You should be, there or more. And then all of the costs that you probably weren't considering, and then what your value is. And you're going to get some type of a range. And that range, at least, will be based on something tangible that's external to you, so that you almost get out of your head about, well, even though I've been working in corporate for 20 years and have all of this experience, yes, I might be only 3 years into my business, but I have so much that I've invested in myself, and that's why I'm valuable. And we really need to do a better job of asking ourselves these questions. And I think sometimes that it requires reaching out to someone else, because we don't do this for ourselves. So can you just talk a little bit about, many of the women in the She Leads audience aren't at the point yet of selling their business for anywhere close to, $15 million. Many of the women are moving toward the $1 million mark, and that is such a hard mark to jump over, right? So as women are marching toward that, what are some of the resources that are available to them, and how would they find out about somebody like you? Because it's not something like, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on asking this roundabout question because I think I'm speaking from my own personal experience as well. But a lot of times what happens is we say, it's a marketing problem. It's a sales problem. Never, let me take a look at my numbers. So what do you suggest people do, or, how they can kind of uncover and get there? Because that is where they need to go.
Yeah. So if an entrepreneur is struggling and she's scaling her business, but something's just not right, 9 times out of 10, it's money. It's your numbers, because your numbers tell a story. And if you do not lean on your numbers to know what the story is, you're going to be fixing the wrong problem.
Yes.
I've had entrepreneurs come to me who, they're killing it by all means, but there's no money in the bank.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. And we have a tool that we use that we look under the hood. It's called an analysis. We look under the hood and look at the numbers. And quite frankly, she was broke.
Yeah.
And she was there's multiple things that she was doing wrong, but she thought it was a sales problem. She thought it was a volume problem. So she was throwing a bunch of money at marketing and ad spend, thousands of dollars burned on Facebook and Google and those sorts of things. And really, when in fact she had a pricing problem. And so she was selling her way broke faster.
Yeah.
So she was spending all this money on advertising. She was selling more, but because she was selling at a loss, she was just making herself broke faster.
Yeah.
So if there's a problem in your business, always go to the numbers first, because the numbers will tell you the story of what the problem is. Because if you have a marketing problem, it's because you're not selling enough or at a high enough amount. If you have a sales and marketing problem, your funnel might be crap, but if you don't have a clarity on what your numbers are, you don't need to spend money, throw bad money at, good money after bad problems. Your numbers will tell you that you have a pricing problem, and then you have a volume problem. And if you have a volume problem, it's because you're not selling enough, because you have too big of an overhead. So you need to trim the fat.
Yeah.
You need to stop spending as much money. You need to do something what we call an expense audit. You need to shave some points off of what's going out every day and save money.
Yeah.
Because if at the end of the day, there's not money in your bank account, you've overspent and you have not sold enough.
Yeah.
And most likely it's because you're not selling at the right amount. I actually had a meeting with my CFO team. I have 5 CFOs on my team that provide services to all of our clients. And we just round robin, like, this client, what's the biggest problem? This client, what's the biggest problem? All of them, it was pricing. Every client that is struggling right now, it's their pricing. They are not charging enough because, 1, they don't understand what it truly costs to fulfill on their services. And 2, they're not charging the client enough for the value that they're bringing. And so it's amazing to see our clients struggling universally. And these are different industries, different sizes, female owned, male owned, universally. Pricing and understanding what you should charge for your service or product is the biggest thing. So if there's a problem within your business, go to the numbers. And if you don't have a bookkeeper that you can go to say, hey, I need my P&L and balance sheet for last month, and I want to see last month compared to the prior month, and I want to see this year compared to last year. And if you don't have those answers, you need a new bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And if you are the bookkeeper, you need to fire yourself and hire someone else, Queen. You are worth too much money to be doing your bookkeeping. I was at an event last week in Nashville with salon owners, high 6-figure, 7-figure salon owners, hair salons, nails, those kind of things. And some of them raised their hands that they're doing their own books. And I'm like, Queen, how much can you make an hour doing extensions? Why in the flip are you doing bookkeeping?
Yeah. Wow.
Like you need to be behind the chair, servicing your client, putting in extensions. Why are you going into QuickBooks and coding anything? This is
Yeah.
not your job. Your
Mm.
job is to sell, market, build your team, find new stylists, and be behind the chair. Stop doing bookkeeping.
Yeah. It's
And
zone
if
of genius.
you're
Yeah.
like, stop,
Yeah.
because those people then have to come to me and I charge them good money to fix the mess that they've created. Like, congratulations on doing $600,000 in your salon. It's amazing. Your Instagram's beautiful. If I had long hair, I could have extensions and be gorgeous, right? Like, I don't have extensions,
More
but
gorgeous, Pam.
like, now I'm sorry that you've been bookkeeping when you could have been making money and could have been being the visionary for your team. I'm now going to have to charge you X amount to clean up the disaster that you've just created.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's this amount a month going forward. Because it's the same thing. Look, I don't do hair. If I cut my own hair, I'm going to have to go to a professional and have them fix it.
Yeah.
If you are not a bookkeeper, don't be a bookkeeper in your business.
Yeah.
Do what you do well and delegate or outsource the rest.
Wow. It's so easy to say. So not just about bookkeeping, but about anything that's outside of one's zone of genius. And, I'm only speaking from a women business owner's perspective. I think we're so conditioned as we're coming up to do everything and to be responsible for everything that it's not familiar to outsource. And here's another thing that just goes back to what you said earlier. Those costs to hire the bookkeeper or hire the marketer, those are also costs that need to get baked into your pricing so that
Correct.
you can afford to outsource and delegate so that you can be operating in your business in your zone of genius. The salon business owner that you're talking about, $600,000, that's amazing. But like you're saying, women have a very hard time getting past that $1 million. Had that person outsourced and she, I'm sure she's hired you or is going to, that could be the difference maker between $600,000 in revenue and $1 million. And we're just not kind of taught that as we are starting and growing businesses.
100%, because we start a business and we run the business the same way we run our life. Because as women and wives and moms, okay, we're the scheduler, the meal planner, the shopper, the sock finder, the put to bedder, the drive to the soccer practice, the make sure homework gets done, does the laundry, keeps up with the house. And so we take that mindset of I've got to carry everything, regardless of how great our partner is. My partner is amazing and he does, as much as I do in the house with the kids, but not everyone has a partner that's that on top of it.
Yeah.
But we take that mentality as women into our business where we're sales, marketing, accounting, tax strategy, the janitor, the IT department, the HR. Somehow we're our own legal department writing contracts like we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, stop, queen.
Ooh.
Do what you do well. Because if you stop doing all of those jobs, that's how you get to $1 million. That's the answer. You want to be $1 million business? Stop doing it all.
I feel, and you are talking directly to me. I mean, you are talking to me and I am hearing you loud and clear. It's some type of a proving energy like, oh yes, I could do it all. I can spin all the plates, but no, you can't. And no, I can't. Yeah. And
you can't. And the reason that you have $1 million business is because you're not doing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's a more comfortable place in general. I'm not trying to abdicate any responsibility or anything like that, but I do think that that's a more comfortable zone to be in for men. They're used to turning over their issues, problems, or whatever to someone else and having someone else deal with it, right? So they know what that's like and they have no guilt about it whatsoever. They don't think twice about it. It's amazing.
It's called mom guilt, not dad guilt for a reason.
Yeah. We have to take a chapter out of their book. And it's also, if we want to go to a more holistic perspective, it actually is self-care by asking someone to help you where you need help. And then there's a value exchange there. So it's perfectly fine to pay for those types of services because you're getting value from it. So I'm on board. After this conversation, I am going back and I am looking at all the things that I'm doing in my business that is not the zone of genius, and delegate, delegate, delegate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the way to go.
How I got from 6 figures to 7 figures is a team.
Yeah.
And outsourcing and having people do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
That I don't need to be doing. I have marketing people. I have a salesperson. I have an operations person. I have people that are doing client fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like what I needed to do as a business owner to get into the 7 figures is to stop serving all the clients and doing all the work. I had to allow other people to come in, represent me, represent my brand, and help our clients. Was that scary? Absolutely. Did they screw up? Sure they did. Did they do it as well as I did? No. But part of that was me letting go and saying, if they can do it to the 70% as good as I can, it's 100% better than what they're getting now.
Yeah. Oh, so good. This is the entrepreneurial trap that you're talking about, right? I mean, I don't know if you've read the E-Myth, but that's exactly, that's like 100%. Exactly what this is all about. You have to stop baking the pies, or if you want to continue to bake the pies, then you bake the pies.
This big.
Yeah. Well, and also then you hire the other people that can grow the business so that you can continue to bake the pies if that's where your zone of genius is and where your love is. You can't be everything and you can't wear all the hats. And I think that that's such an important message, especially for women, because it is in our nature to do all of these things. So if you don't mind, like I would love to almost dive into some of the numbers and what they mean. So yes, we know that there is bookkeeping. You bring on a client, you send them an invoice, they pay you, right? And you have to pay expenses and all of that. But there are some financial documents, and this does not need to be complicated. There are some financial documents or at least dashboards of things that we should be looking at as business owners so that we know our numbers. Can you talk a little bit about what those key metrics are?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to successful money management for entrepreneurs, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. I want to say it again. It's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. Yes. You can be a $2 million company and broke, or you can be a $650,000 company and rolling in the money. I have clients that come to me at $8 million and they are broke. And I'm like, dude, you should go get a job. You could make more.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've got a client that came to me. She's doing right at about 5 and she's running at a negative $200,000 loss. I'm like, ooh. Okay, so now that you've mortgaged everything and you call them payday or, short-term, I call them crack loans.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've seen 90% interest on this, baloney deals. So you need to know, as far as metrics, it's important to know what your sales are. We do need to know what we've closed, what deals are coming in, because that lets us know what cash we have coming into us. Whether you're, using whatever merchant processor or whatever, you need to know what cash is coming in the door, which is directly related to your sales. So you need to know what your sales are. You need to know what cash you have coming in, and you need to know what cash you have on hand. Mm-hmm. What is actually in the bank, and then the next piece of that is, of what's in the bank, what is yours? Mm-hmm. Because you need to know what the next few weeks' bills or expenses are going to be. And so if you have a profit and loss or an income statement, also called a P&L, this should be able to tell you, this is what I've sold, these are what my expenses are. The net profit should be what cash you have. Is that exactly going to match what's in the bank? No, it's not, because there's lots of magical features like credit cards and debt and interest and taxes and those kind of things. But it's helpful for us to know, of the money that I have on hand, how much is someone else's and how much is mine. And what is yours, then you can make decisions on how to run your business. One tool that we use with our clients is called Profit First. It's a
Yes.
cash flow methodology written and created by Michalowicz. I am Profit First certified. All of my CFOs are Profit First certified. We can implement this strategy where you have multiple bank accounts. And it is a super helpful way for the typical amazing entrepreneur who's great at doing whatever they do. They're great at selling. They're great at helping people, and they're garbage at numbers. Have amazing numbers because all money comes into one bank account, and then by a percentage, amount goes into each different bank account. So that when you look at your bank account right now and you see $20,000 in there, you're like, whew, I'm good. Things are great. But then you're forgetting that your rent's coming out. Your Amex is due. Your subscription to that membership mastermind comes out next week. And oh, by the way, that's $2,500. And then, all these other bills, your Facebook ads are about to hit. So when you have multiple bank accounts, now when you pull up your bank account, total you have 20,000, but you see that 1,000 of it is in there for tax. You've got 2,000 for profit account, which is for you. You've got money in a payroll account so you can pay your contractors, but you actually only have $4,000 in your operating account, which means of the 20,000, only 4,000 of it can you do something with. So it's time to hustle because you've got bills that are coming due. Your credit card is coming up. You've got debt that you want to pay down. So that's a methodology that we use with a lot of our clients, whether they're just starting out or 20 million, to help them manage their cash. And it's a really good tool for entrepreneurs who aren't accountants. When I first read the book, I actually didn't like it because I was like, I'm an accountant. I can have a budget. I can stay within the lines of the numbers. And then I was like, oh, none of my clients can. Profit First is beautiful. Right? It makes so much sense for all of my clients. And so we've implemented Profit First with hundreds of businesses, and it's significantly helped them increase what they keep along with what they're making. And it also helps increase the value of the business.
I love that so much. One of the people that has a podcast here on the She Leads Podcast Network, her name is Jennifer Dawn, and she too is certified in Profit First. And I actually had the pleasure so many years ago. I mean, I think this was in 2009. I was like 2009 of meeting Mike Michalowicz. I met him in person. He is such a dynamic individual and prolific author, incredible business person, all of that. But I have not implemented Profit First in my business, but I think that this is something that Adrienne is going to do. Following our conversation.
It's time, queen.
Yes, I feel
Let's
very
go.
called out in such a good way. But one of the other things I love sort of about what you're saying in these different accounts, and it totally makes so much sense. One of the other things that I notice, and especially, my friends who are business owners and everything like that, and even I teach entrepreneurship to graduate and undergraduate students. And when we go through the P&L, I say to them, they'll sort of show me the numbers. We do the pitch deck and everything. And I say to them, well, what are you paying yourself? And they don't even think about including an expense to pay their salary. I'm like, where are you getting this money? How do you expect to continue to live in an apartment in New York City if you don't have any money? And if you're putting all of your time into this business, you can't go get another job. So it's always like an aha moment, like, oh gosh, I guess I have to pay myself more than, $10,000 a year because that's, 3 months rent in New York City. So how do you, I mean, and Profit First, I'm sure addresses this, but is that something that you see as well, that women business owners don't tend to pay themselves a salary?
Yeah, a lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with, are not paying themselves properly through their business and are paying themselves enough. Profit First does have a bank account called Owner's Comp, which is money for you as the owner. And there's a pretty large percentage of your money that's supposed to be going in there because as women, we are supporting, our households just like our, whatever our partner is in our scenario. You need to pay yourself because if you are running this business, this is your job.
Yeah.
Now, whether you should pay yourself through W-2 or through distributions or draws depends on how your company is legally set up and tax set up. And most of the entrepreneurs that come to us have the wrong legal and tax setup. They're overpaying in taxes because they have the wrong entity type because someone told them, oh, you should just be a sole proprietor. Oh, just be an LLC. You don't need to be on payroll. Or someone said, oh, yeah, you should be an S Corp. But then they don't actually pay themselves. So most of the time when people come to us, when they're sub $1 million in revenue, their entity structure is set up wrong and they're not paying themselves correctly.
Wow.
So some of them should be on payroll and aren't. Some of them are on payroll and shouldn't be. Some people are paying themselves a little bit of salary, but taking too much distribution. Some are paying a big salary and not enough distribution. So there's not a one size fits all for this answer. What you need is you need to have an intelligent conversation with a tax strategist or a CFO to be able to say, this is my current structure. Here's what my forecast is. What do I need to do? And then have them help you set up payroll for the right amount that meets your roles that you play for your business, and set up the bank account so that a percentage of every dollar that's coming in is being set aside for you as the entrepreneur to pay yourself well.
Yeah.
Because as business owners, if money's tight, we're the first one to not take a paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay, well that sucks, and we can swallow that pill for a season, but then rent still comes due and the cell phone bill still shows up and the kid wants to go to soccer camp, and you know what? Not paying yourself for 2 months is now hurting.
Yeah.
So stop doing that. Charge more for your services, understand what your costs are, track your money in real time, and make sure you're setting money aside for yourself.
You know, it's so funny, Pam. I just looked down at the time and it says that we've been talking for over 30 minutes. And I have to tell you, I feel like we have been talking for 5. I think there is so much that we need to understand when it comes to finance and our business. And it's something that we have to educate ourselves about, I think, on an ongoing basis, right? So not just when we start our business and then set it aside. We have to constantly be evaluating. And I think that the message that I am hearing loud and clear is it also goes beyond a bookkeeper, right? There's true value from bringing someone in that is going to look at your whole entire financial picture. So I would also say, you know, if you're a business and you think, oh, I don't need a CFO because that sounds like corporate America, you know, and I'm not corporate America. It's actually somebody that can evaluate your finances and have your best interest and your business's best interest in mind. And I think that you have done such a beautiful job of making that message come through loud and clear. And I love everything that you do. I can't wait for everybody that comes to She Leads to get more information from you. I feel like I could literally be talking to you for 3 hours and not even get everything that I need. How can people get in touch with you now when they're listening to this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to pamjordan.com and that tells you about me, about my companies, how to contact us, get on a call with my team. My company's website is Pivot Business Group, and that shows you who you'll be working with, our different service offerings, what the pricing starts at. So if you have any of those questions, we'd love to talk to you. My team's available to help entrepreneurs scale to an exit or live the life that they want to live. I have some moms that are just like, look, I need 10K a month because I don't want to be reliant on anyone else. And I'm like, all right, queen, let's go.
Yeah. I love this so much. Thank you very much for spending your time and offering all of your expertise to all of the listeners. We appreciate you so much. And I cannot wait to see you in October.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward. It'll be amazing.
All of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network, the podcast network for women, by women. Thanks so much for listening to the She Leads podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support us, please share it with others, make a personalized post about what you took away on social media, and please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. This helps our guests and our show to continue to gain visibility and traction. To learn more about how She Leads Media helps women to gain visibility, you can follow us on Instagram at She Leads Media, or you can head on over to sheleadsmedia.com. If you'd like to network with me and other amazing women, don't forget to join us each year for the She Leads Live conference. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.